What is up? What is up, YouTube? How y'all doing? I'm trying my best to get my voice together. I'm sitting here with my boo-boo. She on the phone, y'all. We're in the Philippines, man. We're in the Philippines doing our reactions and stuff. But we'll show y'all some of this scenery. Once we finish these reactions for the day, we are going to be passing out shoes to the less fortunate people and giving away free shoes and stuff. I wish I could do more, but unfortunately things happen. So check this out, man. We're giving back. So some good has coming out. Some good has came out of this Diddy situation, period. So y'all hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. We thank everybody for watching our videos. We thank everybody for supporting us because we are doing good and we're about to film today us doing something. Things don't work out like I wanted it to, but they still gonna work out and we helping people. All we want to do is help people. So disgrace Diddy monster fail. Full true crime documentary, Sean Diddy Combs. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Hey, let's check that bad boy out. Here we go, y'all.
We are following breaking news right now related to music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. Major new allegations today of sexual assault and exploitation by Combs. For the first time, we are hearing about victims who say they were minors when they were allegedly assaulted by the music star. The youngest allegedly just 9 years old.
The complaint alleges in part that defendant Combs and another defendant committed a, quote, violation of New York City Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Act by viciously and violently forcing sexual contact, oral sex, and sexual intercourse on the plaintiff.
Wherever he is, his resolve is the same. He believes he's innocent. I believe he's innocent. And we're going to fight this case with all of our might until we don't have to fight any longer.
Some of the hardest parts of this pain are the shame and the guilt I have experienced that plays a negative part in my day-to-day ability to function properly.
And they usually do not indict someone, especially someone of this kind of public magnitude, without having all their ducks already lined up. So I imagine it is a very serious case.
That's the one thing that I'm noticing people saying that I don't think we getting as the public that don't know the court systems and all this. When they come in, this not like a police that got a warrant or something like that. When these people come in and raid your house, they already got a case that's sealed 90% of the time.
It's so difficult to reflect
Let's keep going.
The darkest times in your life.
I cannot stand to see this part, man. I wanna. Anytime I see this right here, this, to be honest, think about it, y'all. This is when Diddy, this is his eye opener. And he let the whole world know that, oh, it's real, it's in my face now, because now everybody knows. So now I'm opened and realized that I was on way too many drugs. I've been doing too much, because that, from the outside looking in, he's on the outside looking in now. That is ugly. No matter what man that did that, that is ugly. And now that I see that I was a monster, he sees that he's a monster now. And this is when he know everything is about to fall. So he did this video on him. I know his publishers and I know everybody, the lawyers and everybody said, you shouldn't have done that. Don't put no videos up until you talk to me. And he's like, man, forget you. I'm going to do what I need to do because I was wrong.
Sometimes you got to do that. I was up. I mean, I hit rock bottom.
In November 2023, the singer Cassie,
he knew he was messed
Cassandra
up.
Ventura, filed an explosive federal lawsuit against her former partner Sean Diddy Combs, claiming he had been physically and sexually abusive throughout their relationship. The complaint alleged that Combs' abuse ranged from beating Ventura and forcing her to have sex with other men to raping her at her home in 2018. The rapper settled the lawsuit within a day. But it didn't end there. This was a situation that the rapper couldn't simply buy his way out of. Since then, over 24 men and women have sued Combs, accusing him of a wide range of abusive behavior including sexual harassment, rape, non-consensual pornography, and sex trafficking. The situation escalated in March when federal agents raided Combs' properties in Miami and Los Angeles. And then on September 16th, federal agents arrested Combs at a Manhattan hotel following a grand jury indictment. The music mogul was charged with racketeering and sex trafficking, to which he pleaded not guilty. A judge ruled that he be held without bail until trial.
Sure you want to do that? Sure you want to do that?
Following the raids, Combs' lawyer Aaron Dyer maintained that his client is innocent and will continue to fight every single day to clear his name. The music mogul even took matters into his own hands, turning to Instagram to deny all of his accusers' allegations. I have sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation and my legacy, he said in December. Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday. Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of the awful things being alleged. However, anyone's doubts about the hip-hop mogul's guilt were swiftly diminished in May, when CNN published graphic security footage showing Combs assaulting Ventura in a hotel back in 2016. Viewer warning for content displaying domestic violence.
New surveillance footage obtained exclusively by CNN appears to corroborate some of the allegations of abuse against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The video
Miss Ventura in the face, giving her...
The thing that tripped me out is, you see how she laid there, man. She limp. She just laid there limp, like she's used to this. She knows that if she try to fight back in any kind of way, it's gonna be worse. So I take the slam on the floor, I take the kick with no shoes on, and I take the extra kick and dragging down the hallway, because that's less painful. Because I know girls that would have fought back a little harder than that. Even though they know they're gonna lose, they're gonna fight bravely. But when you abuse all the time, you know not to fight back, it's gonna hurt more.
Her a black eye, which, according to the lawsuit, prompted Ventura to try and leave the hotel room. The surveillance video begins as she enters the hallway. The complaint says, as she exited, Mr. Combs awoke and began screaming at Miss Ventura. He followed her into the hallway of the hotel while yelling at her. The complaint goes on to say, he grabbed at her and then took glass vases in the hallway and threw them at her. The video lines up closely with the allegations in Cassie's suit, further cementing her claims and diminishing any doubts that may have been left in the public's mind about whether or not she was telling the truth. So often, survivors of domestic abuse aren't believed until physical evidence is provided.
That's a shame, that is a shame.
And just like that, the reputation of one of hip-hop's music moguls was destroyed.
Hey guys, Uncle Mike here with big news. YouTube has changed my life, and now it's your turn. See, Uncle Mike was tired of being broke after every payday. So I decided to do something about it. So I invested over about $9,000 in YouTube courses and online coaching. Man, I was determined to change. But guess what? None of these systems gave me the one-on-one coaching that I needed. So I created my own YouTube course with the help that you need to make sure that you succeed. If you're ready to learn and you're not afraid to put in the work, you too can make a real change. Sign up now and Uncle Mike will send you the 4 videos that got me started. 100% free. Click the word more below and look for our YouTube growth system. That's our course. Now, let's get back to this video.
Social media was littered with jokes about baby oil and think pieces about how one man was able to get away with abuse for so long without getting caught. Was it his wealth? His power? Who else knew about what was going on and chose to stay silent?
Come on, give us some love, Diddy.
A magnifying glass was placed on all of the celebrities and staff who had associated closely with Diddy over the years as people began to question just how innocent they could have been. Was this all just one big open Hollywood secret? But in order for us to truly understand how Diddy was able to get away with his crimes for so long, we have to go back. Way back to the 90s when Sean Combs was not yet the superstar rapper and producer he is today, but was just a kid from Mount Vernon trying to make it big. By whatever means necessary.
Money earned in Mount Vernon.
I'm a savage! Oh! I'm a savage! Whatever I want, I'm going to get! Whatever I want, I have to get!
Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, or at this point, simply Sean Combs, started his life in Harlem, New York City. Growing up in a single-parent household, he was forced to step up as the man of the house from a young age after losing his father to crime when he was only 3. His mother, Janice Combs, encouraged his artistic pursuits, and he found solace in music. After dropping out from Howard University, Diddy began his career by becoming an intern at Uptown Records, one of the oldest and more prominent hip-hop labels with a roster including artists such as Mary J. Blige, Heavy D and the Boys, and of course, the notorious B.I.G.
It's the one and only Biggie Smalls doing his thing in the rap world. That's right, baby.
He swiftly rose up in the ranks of the company, eventually becoming vice president while simultaneously making a ton of industry connections. But this abruptly came to an end when he was fired by the company's CEO, Andre Harrell, for seemingly becoming too big for his boots. In an interview with Oprah, Diddy said that the reason he lost his job was because he didn't understand protocol or workplace politics, and there can't be 2 kings in one castle. But this wasn't enough to stop a young Sean Combs. If anything, it motivated him to become his own boss. And in 1993, just weeks after losing his old job, Diddy formed the label Bad Boy Records, with one of the first people he signed being the notorious B.I.G., aka Biggie. This was a huge blow to Uptown Records given the massive success of Biggie's critically acclaimed debut album Ready to Die in 1994. Diddy's career and reputation as a record executive and producer continued to grow during the early to mid-90s, working with artists such as Mariah Carey, Mace, TLC, Aretha Franklin, and so many others. His stamp on the music industry during this era was undeniable. And out hit after hit, and by 1997 the company had generated over $100 million in record sales. But whilst things were going well for the growing...
This fake ass. Look at Mace. Mace walking up with his head all sideways. Yeah, we on camera. Oh my God. Being a taken. Boy, you was taken advantage of and you liked it. Mace was taken advantage of and he liked it.
And out hit after hit, and by 1997 the company had generated over $100 million in record sales.
Sideways already.
But whilst things were going well for the growing star, this was also when he began to run into some of his legal issues.
He talented though. Mace talented. You know, but they don't, it's funny, they know the music talent side, they don't know the business side.
Around this time, a young artist named Tupac had just released his second studio album via TNT Recordings and Interscope Records and was slowly beginning to become a household name.
Yeah, I like to think I'm rebel. I'm revolutionary.
Tupac and Biggie eventually went on to become friends, frequently being seen together on stage and
That's
at events.
Redman.
However, things changed quickly when Tupac was shot 5 times on his way to a studio session at Quad Studios in New York in 1994.
The subject is Tupac Shakur, rapper, actor, court defendant, and now shooting victim. Shortly after midnight, 12:25 a.m. on Wednesday morning, Tupac Shakur was shot 5 times in the lobby of this Manhattan building right behind me. Police say it appeared to be a robbery attempt committed by 3 men as Tupac was on his way to a recording studio on the 8th floor of the Powers building. Shakur is reported in serious but stable condition at Bellevue Hospital and entered surgery at 10 a.m. Wednesday morning to check for internal bleeding. He was grazed by 2 shots to the head and wounded in the thigh, hand, and groin. The gunmen, who remain at large, also made off with $40,000 worth of jewelry. Shakur's lawyers, who are downtown awaiting the jury's verdict on sexual assault charges against Tupac, say the shooting looks like a setup and smells like a setup.
After November 30th, 1994, the relationship between Biggie and Tupac was never the same. Rumors about who was behind the shooting and speculation about the whole thing being a setup began circulating. But none of this mattered because in the eyes of Tupac, it was Biggie who set him up.
That's what they said. They said that.
And thus, the West Coast versus East Coast beef began. This is also when suspicion about Diddy's involvement started to circulate for a number of reasons. After his shooting, Tupac was facing prison time for a sexual assault case and had to turn himself in, which he did on December 23, 1994. Whilst locked up, Biggie repeatedly stated in interviews that he had nothing to do with it and wished for Tupac's freedom, but Pac wasn't buying it. He thought that, just like all the other East Coast rappers, he was putting up a front for the media, and if he really cared, he would have come to visit him in prison. And then, any doubt about who was behind his shooting was erased with the release of Biggie's song Who Shot Ya in 1995. The song was recorded before Biggie's debut album Ready to Die, which was released in 1994, before the Quad Studio shooting had occurred, but again Pac wasn't buying it. Many believe that Diddy intentionally released the track after Tupac was shot as a way to taunt him and potentially fuel the battle between Tupac and Biggie, and he had plenty reason to do so. Prior to the shooting, Diddy had unresolved issues with the co-founder and CEO of Death Row Records, the label that Tupac was signed to, Suge Knight.
I'd like to tell Tupac to keep his guards up. We ride with him. And one other thing I'd like to say, any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, don't have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row.
They done turned that into something different.
The date is September 23rd, 1995, and the record producer Jermaine Dupri is throwing a party to celebrate his birthday in Atlanta, inviting all of his celebrity friends, including both Diddy and Suge Knight. Things remained calm during the event, but the after-party was where all the trouble began. A common occurrence that seems to happen when Diddy's around. Suge Knight arrived at the Platinum House nightclub with only one person, his friend Big Jake, who also happened to be an OG Blood member.
Wow.
Diddy was surrounded by an entourage filled with a lot of street guys with gang affiliations, one notably being Anthony Wolf Jones, who was known to be Diddy's right-hand man and also a member of the Crips. According to an off-duty Fulton County sheriff by the name of Chris Howard, who was working as security that night, Diddy and Suge inevitably ended up getting into a heated confrontation, resulting in both parties being asked to leave the club. In an attempt to avoid the altercation getting any worse outside, Suge's party was asked to remain inside whilst Diddy's entourage cleared out. But of course, things only got worse once they hit the streets. As Howard recalled, I told Suge, okay, coast is clear, and we walked outside and got into the limo. His partner was just about ready to get into the limo when all of a sudden Puffy's guys came from around the corner and one of them had a gun. I chased the guy with the gun around the corner, Howard said. He handed the gun off to another guy. It was a .45. By the time I got back out front, That's when the guy took a shot at Suge's partner. He shot him 2 or 3 times. Howard said he had drawn his weapon but couldn't fire because a crowd had gathered outside the club. He said he saw the shooter jump into a car carrying Cobb's associates. I couldn't see who was driving, but all the guys who were with Puffy ran to the car when the shooting took place, Howard said. Then the shooter jumped in, and they drove off. 15 minutes later, the police arrived, but by that point, the shooter was nowhere to be found and no weapon was ever recovered. The victim, Jake Robles, also known as Big Jake, died in the hospital a few weeks later. A lot of speculation followed that night over who actually shot Big Jake, but Jermaine Dupri and many others believed it was Wolf who took the fatal shot. This was the night that officially turned a competition in hip-hop to a full-blown beef. With Bloods and Crips now involved in the beef, things turned violent quickly, and over the following year a lot of blood was shed, including the blood of the superstar of death row, Tupac, and eventually the legendary Notorious B.I.G. With all that was going on, tensions rose to a point where both Biggie and Tupac ended up losing their lives. And with Diddy being so heavily associated with the drama, many believed him to be involved somehow. He denies all involvement to this day. Regardless, this is just one example of Diddy's nefarious activities. If we delve even further into his past, we begin to see a pattern of violence. For example, in 1999, Diddy caught his first assault charge following the accidental release of a Nas music video for the song Hate Me Now. Diddy, having been raised in the Catholic Church, had a chat with his priest before the release of the video and decided he no longer wanted his crucifixion scene included. However, by the time he came to that decision, it was already too late. Large sums of money had been spent, and Steve Stout, Nas's manager, was reluctant to make the change, especially given the fact that the crucifixion scene was Diddy's idea in the first place. On April 15, 1999, the uncut music video aired on national TV, and according to Double XL, it was only a matter of minutes before Diddy and his bodyguards burst into Steve's office to violently assault him in front of 2 clients. While speaking to the LA Times, Steve recounts the incident. "One minute I'm in the middle of a meeting, and the next I'm down on the floor and Puffy and his guys are kicking and pounding me. One of them picks up a chair and throws it at me. Then Puffy throws my desk over, and they just walk out like nothing happened. I was laying there on the floor bleeding. My jaw and my head were all swollen. I couldn't move my arm. It was a traumatic experience, and in the middle of it, I didn't know exactly how to feel. I was upset, embarrassed, scared, and angry. As far as I'm concerned, this was an attempt on my life."
See, let me tell y'all something that's real, man. Real thugs and real gangsters, see, they can't be in the music business because they wouldn't let no story like that be out. I don't care how bad a real thug, a real street dude get beat up. He ain't gonna let the story out. He ain't gonna tell his boys that they threw chairs at me and I was laying there and they beat me up. They hit me. Nah, no real dude like Slim. We gotta get him. You got blood all over your face and blood all over your body. You all hurt up, and you like, I'm all right, man. I'm all right. I'm all right. That's the street code. Yeah. So these people, Puffy included, Mace and all them, these are fake street people. The bodyguards, Gene, the other dude, Wolf, all them real street dudes. Them real street dudes. All the other ones, they ain't no real street dudes. But you gotta be in the street to realize who's real and who's not. Because there's no way in the world.
Swollen. I couldn't move my arm.
I couldn't move
It was
my
a traumatic
arm. You sound like a
experience, and in
bee.
the middle of it, I didn't know exactly how to feel.
I didn't know how
I was
to
upset,
feel.
embarrassed, scared, and angry. As far as I'm concerned, this was an attempt on my life.
Real street people wouldn't say them type of words at all. They wouldn't even let them words come in their mind. That's facts.
Almost instantly, Diddy was arrested, criminally charged, and faced up to 7 years in prison until Steve suddenly had a change of heart and asked the DA's office to drop the charges once Diddy apologized.
I just want to say I give all glory to God.
And if that wasn't enough, one of the most high-profile controversies involving P. Diddy was the 1999 shooting at Club New York. On December 28, 1999, Sean Combs and then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez had been celebrating a soon-to-be-released album by Shine, aka Jamal Barrow, the rap mogul's 21-year-old protege at Midtown's Club New York.
September 26th, album coming out. Number 8 on Gems right now. Request that, so I can be number 1, all right?
They were leaving when Combs, carrying a bottle of champagne, accidentally jostled one of the club's patrons, knocking a drink out of his hand. The man, Matthew Allen, a street tough known as Scar, responded with a shove. Things escalated. One of Allen's companions allegedly threw a stack of money in Combs' face, and shots were fired, leaving 3 people injured. Combs and Lopez were arrested fleeing the scene in a Lincoln Navigator with a gun in the trunk. J-Lo was quickly absolved, and although witnesses said they'd seen Combs with the weapon, and his driver testified that his boss had bribed him to claim ownership, his legal team, including Johnny Cochran, created enough doubt that Combs was acquitted too. I don't know if you know this judge, but this person, Jennifer Lopez, is a very famous actress. One lawyer pointed out. To think Mr. Combs is walking around with her with a loaded gun. It's so ridiculous that it stretches the imagination. In the end, it was Shine who served almost 9 years for assault, gun possession, and reckless endangerment, though he did so angrily, claiming Combs had sold him out to save his own skin. After his acquittal, Combs changed his nickname to P. Diddy in hopes of putting the past behind him, but the case still casts a shadow over his reputation to this day.
Classic, stay classic.
This was just another example of Diddy's involvement in shady situations. It seems that his abusive past has always been one of the industry's worst-kept secrets. And it's important to note here just how popular and powerful Diddy was becoming at this point. Following the tragic murder of the notorious B.I.G., Diddy's tribute single, I'll Be Missing You, featuring Faith Evans, debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and remained in the #1 spot for an astounding 11 weeks, as well as topping charts around the world. Diddy's mainstream celebrity status continued.
Not because of him, though. Not because of him. People like that song because they was missing Biggie. It could have been any song. It could have been any artist on the song. It was a song tribute to Biggie. I was a Biggie fan. We didn't give a daggone, we didn't give a who was singing the song. It ain't had nothing to do with Puffy. That ain't had nothing to do with no Puffy. Y'all, and we all know it. It was his song, just so happened he was on the song. They listened and we was down with that song because of Biggie, and Biggie was dead. Facts. All facts. People ain't give a daggone who sung that song.
Hot 100 and remained in the #1 spot for an astounding 11 weeks, as well as topping charts around the world. Diddy's mainstream celebrity status continued growing with the release of his debut album, No Way Out, which sold 3.4 million physical copies in the United States alone, going platinum. He even managed to earn 5 Grammy nominations for this album in 1997, going on to win for Best Rap Album. In 1998, he created the Sean John clothing line that later became a cultural phenomenon. From there, he dipped into fragrances, alcohol, and even set up a media company, becoming the host of multiple reality shows where he would discover new talent and make people stars. Diddy was hanging out with all the hottest celebs, from Kanye West to Donald Trump and Martha Stewart. By now, he was rich, filthy rich. It's estimated that he has more than $800 million in valuation of property and assets. And according to a Business Insider, Diddy's record label brought in about $130 million annually in its prime. It's safe to say that his lifestyle was nothing short of lavish, and with all of his fame and wealth, he became known for putting on some of the most extravagant parties for his celebrity friends. But once the main party had ended and the majority of the guests had gone home, this is allegedly where the more obscene activities would begin, better known as freak-offs. During these freak-offs, another side of Combs would come out. and it was only a matter of time before the true Diddy was exposed for the world to see.
Hey there, I'm Lindsay Sharp joining Ashton and Diddy this year in Beverly Hills, where they brought the infamous white party. It's 4th of July, but we're also shining a light on malaria no more.
A Sean Diddy Combs party invitation was once the ultimate Hollywood pass, with guest lists featuring A-listers like Justin Bieber, Mariah Carey, Paris Hilton, and Jennifer Lopez. These events were a star-studded affair. Even Jay-Z and Beyonce have used Diddy's parties to debut new music.
So, how did this whole white party come about with you?
Run DMC and also Russell Simmons. Look, that's Run DMC.
These events were a star-studded affair. Even Jay-Z and Beyonce have used
Russell Simmons on the far left.
Diddy's
right.
parties to debut new music.
So, how did this whole white party come about with you?
Oh man, it was like maybe over a decade ago. So I moved to a new neighborhood and they were like, well, what's this guy doing moving here in East Hamptons? And you know, and he has this estate on the water, what's going on? And so I said, everybody, come on over to the house so y'all can get to know me. Let me invite some of my friends from Harlem, from 145th Street. Let me mix y'all together so y'all know you ain't got nothing to be afraid of. You ain't got to hold your pocketbooks tight or nothing when I'm jogging in the neighborhood. And, you know, then it was history. Everybody became friends, and a lot of people, really kept friendships from that. It was something that I just did every summer, you know, in the Hamptons, and I took it overseas to Sandro Pay, and then I brought it here to LA, and, you know.
Now, why did you decide to bring it to LA this time around?
I was out here shooting a movie and just out here meeting new people, and really also it was just the prime place to do because Ashton's located here, and to do the whole malaria no more.
Oh, well, I've never been to the white party before, and this is definitely a big way to spend 4th of July. I can't imagine it any other way, but being in New York all the other years, just seeing the fireworks and everything, LA was just a change of scenery, so I'm excited about it. Lastly, what makes Ashton and Diddy the perfect hosts for the night? They're just a dynamic duo. They're big together, so I don't know. I'm excited to see what's inside. I don't know what's gonna happen.
In the Los Angeles area, the rapper lived on what has become known as Beverly Hills' most expensive street. The high fences allow celebrities to hide from prying eyes, and Hugh Hefner's Playboy mansion sits only a few doors down. Diddy's mansion in Beverly Hills was one of several venues he used to host his annual White Party, a flagship event which he held from 1998 to 2009. He began the parties in New York's exclusive Hamptons area with a strict all-white dress code, bringing together East Hampton's old money elite and the rising stars of hip-hop. Mr. Combs once described the parties as a way to break down racial and generational barriers. But the hottest party of the year was a facade that allowed sinister conduct, according to recent lawsuits. In a lawsuit, a man, who was 16 years old at the time, described the thrill of getting to attend Mr. Combs' first white party in 1998. Walking into the Hamptons mansion, he saw celebrities and entertainment executives left and right. In the lawsuit, he said he believed the party could open doors to a music career. He said he was on his way to the bathroom when he ran into the rapper. They started talking and then moved to another, more private area. That's when Mr. Combs said the teen had the right look and he could turn anyone into a star. Left and right. In the lawsuit, he said he believed the party could open doors to a music career. He said he was on his way to the bathroom when he ran into the rapper.
Al Sharpton. What is Al Sharpton doing with a band on he got a band on his wrist, y'all, by his watch. This dude is supposed to be into the church and helping people in movements and stuff. What is he doing there? I don't get this.
Started talking and then moved to another, more private area. That's when Mr. Combs said the teen had the right look and he could turn anyone into a star, the lawsuit states. Then things took a dark turn. Mr. Combs abruptly ordered the then teenage boy to drop his pants so that Mr. Combs could examine and touch him, the lawsuit alleges. According to the lawsuit, Mr. Combs said it was a rite of passage and the route to becoming a star. It also claims that he said it was a way for him to prove himself, asking the team, "Don't you want to break into the business?" As more and more people come out with claims against Mr. Combs, the internet has begun to draw links between some of the recent allegations and what some would describe as suspicious relationships with a couple well-known artists who were frequently around Diddy in the earlier stages of their careers.
That's why I don't be going to them puffy parties. They can hug you from the front and the back at the same time. What are you talking about?
P. Diddy be wanting the body, and you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no.
In August 2016, R&B legend Usher appeared on The Howard Stern Show where he described some of his earliest years in the music industry. At just 15, Usher was already collaborating with established executive Sean Combs, who was happy to co-produce the young artist's self-titled album in 1994. But this didn't simply end as a business relationship. It seems that the pair seemed to get very close, as Usher told Howard that he lived with the mogul for up to a year without his parents even knowing. Diddy introduced Usher to an entirely new world, he said.
That's not what he said. That is not what he said, man. Come on, y'all. I be listening, man. Uncle Mike be listening, y'all. Uncle Mike be listening. And that is not what he said. Y'all need to go back and look at the video. Watch this.
Who was happy to co-produce the young artist's self-titled album in 1994. But this didn't simply end as a business relationship. It seems that the pair seemed to get very close, as Usher told Howard that he lived with the mogul for up to a year without his parents even knowing.
Without his parents even knowing. No, that's not. The parents knew. The parents allowed. How the parents gonna not know that your son or daughter is living somewhere else for a whole year? That's what I'm talking about right here, man. But okay, all right, let's keep it going. Let's hear it one more time.
The end as a business relationship. It seems that the pair seemed to get very close, as Usher told Howard that he lived with the mogul for up to a year without his parents even knowing. Diddy introduced Usher to an entirely new world, he said, one that was wildly inappropriate for someone who was as young as Usher was at the time. Remember, Usher was just a teenager and Diddy was well into his 20s.
In the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I mean, but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it.
In fact, in a 2004 interview with Rolling Stone, Usher revealed that Diddy had shown him a totally different set of things, specifically when it came to sex. Girls were always around, Usher explained. You'd open a door and see somebody doing it, or several people in a room having an orgy. You never knew what was going to happen. Fast forward 12 years and Usher's testimony hasn't changed a bit. It was during this interview that Usher confirmed once more that he got a chance to see some interesting things whilst living under Diddy's roof. And despite being a child, he was exposed to an explicit lifestyle he couldn't understand. Finally, Howard asks if he'd ever send his own kids to Puffy Flavor Camp, and Usher's immediate response to this question tells us all we really need to know.
You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
But it wasn't just these videos that were re-emerging in the public psyche. A couple YouTube videos featuring a 15-year-old Justin Bieber was suddenly making rounds on the internet in light of Diddy's recent allegations. Originally posted in November 2009, right as Justin was becoming a global superstar, the 2-minute video has generated headlines again, mainly due to it being such an uncomfortable watch. Titled Justin Bieber's 48 Hours with Diddy, the first 30 seconds feature Diddy gifting the young pop star a brand new Lamborghini and promises Justin that in a year, when he turns 16, this car is all his. And when he turns 18, the giant mansion behind them is his too. Justin asks him where they're going, and when Diddy asks him where he wants to go, that's when it gets slightly more awkward. Some claim that people are reading too deeply into things, but given all the allegations against Diddy, there's good reason to believe that something shady may have been going on.
Check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
The implications that a grown man like Diddy is about to go out and help a teenager find girls is pretty odd at face value. This could have all been some sort of harmless promo for Diddy's album or some sort of project. However, given the mountain of allegations against Diddy, it makes sense why all of these videos have come back under public scrutiny. "2024 has been a harrowing year for Sean Combs. 2 years ago, the rap musician and mogul threw a lavish 53rd birthday party at his $61 million mansion in Beverly Hills. A host of stars lined up to toast his career, with a guest list that included Travis Scott, Mary J. Blige, Chris Brown, and Machine Gun Kelly. Fast forward to 2024, and his career is on the ropes. In a case filed in New York, the star has been accused of kidnapping, drugging, and coercing women into sexual activities, sometimes through the use of firearms and threats of violence. The same Los Angeles mansion that hosted his birthday party was raided by police in March. There, officers seized supplies that they say were intended for use in orgies known as freak-offs, including drugs and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Mr. Combs has denied all the charges, entering a not guilty plea on Tuesday, the 17th of September.
The federal government is very deliberate in when they bring criminal charges. And for them to be executing this warrant now, I imagine this investigation has been going on for months or longer. And they usually do not indict someone, especially someone of this kind of public magnitude, without having all their ducks already lined up. So I imagine it is a very serious case.
The court case comes after a year in which the musician has faced lawsuits from a number of women. Let's rewind to see where his current court situations began.
The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
On November 16, 2023, singer and model Cassie Ventura filed a lawsuit against the music mogul Sean Combs. Cassie and Diddy were in an on-off relationship from 2007 to 2018, beginning when Cassie was 19 and Combs 37. Cassie was signed to Mr. Combs' record label and dated him for more than a decade. But in a civil lawsuit, she said the mogul had used his position of power to set the groundwork for a manipulative and coercive romantic and sexual relationship. Her lawsuit included graphic descriptions of violent abuse, alleging that Mr. Combs regularly beat and kicked Ms. Ventura, leaving black eyes, bruises, and blood. She described parties known as freak-offs, drug-fueled, days-long sexual performances, which Mr. Combs allegedly coerced women into and filmed for his own pleasure. Ms. Ventura also accused the musician of sexual abuse and rape, and claimed that many of these incidents were witnessed by his tremendously loyal network, who were not willing to do anything meaningful to stop the violence. Mr. Combs would allegedly want to have these freak-offs at random moments, and Ms. Ventura was expected to both facilitate the locations for where they would take place, as well as find and hire the sex workers herself. Cassie even recalls an alleged instance where she was cornered by his security, who forced her to leave her friends at her 29th birthday party to have a spontaneous freak-off with Diddy at a nearby hotel, despite expressing clearly that she didn't want to go. When the couple then returned from the freak-off, Diddy, still intoxicated, allegedly grabbed one of Cassie's friends like a child and dangled the friend over the balcony of the 17th floor hotel suite. The lawsuit even goes on to name the exact locations where these freak-offs would occur, with the hotels occasionally charging Diddy.
That's crazy, man. And you do that to a female and you get away with it. That's the crazy part, is a man doing something like that Boy, I swear to God, I wish I was there.
Floor hotel suite. The lawsuit even goes on to name the exact locations where these freak-offs would occur, with the hotels occasionally charging Diddy thousands of dollars in damages afterwards. She was forced to use websites and escort services to find male sex workers, specifically instructing her to search for terms like large black penises on the website, as the lawsuit asserts. It goes on to say that Mr. Combs would always supply Miss Ventura and the sex workers with copious amounts of drugs before and during the FOs, including cocaine, GBH, ketamine, marijuana, and alcohol in excessive amounts, which would allow her to disassociate during these horrific encounters whilst Diddy would masturbate to Cassie having intercourse with other inebriated sex workers.
With drugs and all the stuff that's going on, pills, drinking, it can make this man into a monster, and that's what it did, bruh. It made him into a monster, bruh.
These freak-offs would last for days, according to Cassie, and it became commonplace to get IV fluids in the days after a freak-off to recover from the excessive substances pushed upon her. The lawsuit even alleges that Diddy insisted that Cassie wear white nail polish to contrast her nails with the skin of the black men hired to have sex with her. For Diddy, this was all about power. The lawsuit states that Diddy would even direct the sexual encounters, specifically telling Cassie where he wanted her to touch whilst he masturbated, saying things like, "Grab that big black d," and asking her, "How does it feel?" As the lawsuit puts it, Diddy treated the forced encounter as a personal art project, adjusting the candles he used for lighting to frame the videos he took. Diddy would constantly leverage his power and influence in the music industry to get whatever he wanted. He even insisted that Cassie refer to him as Pop Pop, upon learning that was the nickname she gave her grandfather. Remember, there's an 18-year age gap between these two, and Diddy made it clear who was in control. The pair met in late 2005 or early 2006, after he heard Cassie's first single playing in a club and expressed interest in signing her to his Bad Boy Records label. Within months, Cassie signed to a 10-album deal, an extremely large number of albums to sign away in one go, which would probably lead to a very drawn-out business relationship. Mr. Combs would constantly flaunt his authority and status and assert possession and control over her, to the point where almost all aspects of Ventura's life were controlled by either Mr. Combs or his management companies. This, tied with the fact that Cassie was given a constant supply of drugs and pills out in the open, quote, like candy, explains how Diddy was able to maintain control over Ms. Ventura for so many years, starting in 2008. Many people have seen similarities with this and the tactics used by another famous abuser, Jeffrey Epstein, who also drugged the many girls he kept around. The next decade of Cassie's life was spent trapped in a vicious cycle of violence, abuse, and sex trafficking, according to the suit. The lawsuit also alleged that Mr. Combs went as far as to destroy a car belonging to U.S. rapper and actor Kid Cudi to dissuade him from dating her. In 2011, Cassie entered into a brief relationship with Kid Cudi, real name Scott Ramon Seguro Mescuti, and would often seek refuge at his home to escape the wrath of Diddy. However, upon stealing her phone and finding an email exchange between Cudi and Cassie, Diddy became enraged, unable to control his temper, and attempted to attack Cassie with a sharp corkscrew lodged between his fingers. She managed to escape to Cudi's house that night, ultimately returning later once she felt as though she could never outrun Diddy. The lawsuit then alleges that he hit her and kicked her in the back as she tried to escape again. Her parents later took photos of her bruises from this incident, and after a few months, Diddy allegedly told Cassie that he was planning to blow up Kid Cudi's car and wanted to be sure that Cudi was home when it happened. Sure enough, in February 2012, Kid Cudi's car exploded in his driveway. This is just one example of the lengths in which Diddy would go to maintain his control and dominance. Cassie and Combs mutually agreed to settle the case on November 17, 2023. 4 days after filing her lawsuit, Cassie asked the court to dismiss her entire case with prejudice, which meant that her claims could not be filed again. Speculation over why they settled so quickly dominated the news over the following weeks. Was she paid off? Why didn't he want to face her in court? Was this an admission of guilt? Regardless of the reasons for settling, doing so didn't mean an end to Diddy's legal problems. If anything, Cassie's case opened the floodgates for lawsuits against Diddy. In the weeks after settling Cassie's lawsuit, Mr. Combs was accused of sexual assault dating back to 1991 by multiple women and men. One of the more prominent cases came from Rodney Jones Jr., better known as Lil Rod, a record producer from Chicago who filed a 105-page federal complaint against Combs on February 2, 2024, accusing him and the people who work with him of being part of an illegal racketeering enterprise.
Some of you may know me or may not. I'm a music producer, a writer, a musician, different genres. I started in gospel and jazz and R&B and worked my way over to the hip-hop side. I've been working on an album. I took a year off straight working on this album. That album is the Love album, Off the Grid by Diddy. And it's Grammy nominated right now as we speak. I should be celebrating, but the truth is I'm not.
Jones alleges in his complaint that he has irrefutable evidence of the acquisition, use, and distribution of ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms, the displaying and distribution of unregistered illegal firearms, and the solicitation of minors and sex workers. According to Jones, as he alleges in the complaint, Combs reached out to Jones in 2022 to help him produce songs, but Jones claims the work Combs required of him went far beyond producing music. He claims in the lawsuit that he was tasked with procuring drugs and soliciting sex workers to perform sex acts to the pleasure of Mr. Combs. Jones alleges that Combs also required him to tape these sex acts, and that Combs would often threaten to inflict bodily harm on him if he did not comply with his demands. Jones alleged in his complaint that Combs kept specific bottles of alcohol designated for females on hand, and according to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs forced all the women to drink Lace de Leon liquor. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs laced the liquor with ecstasy, the lawsuit claims. He also accuses Combs of sexual harassment and assault for allegedly grabbing him without his consent and forcing him to work while Combs paraded around naked. He also alleges that Combs once left him alone in a makeshift studio on a yacht with Cuba Gooding Jr., who he said then began touching, groping, and fondling his upper thighs near his groin. He said Gooding did not stop until he forcibly pushed him away.
So we made a bail appeal to Judge Carter. It did not go our way. The fight continues. We're not giving up by a long shot. I told Mr. Combs I'm going to try and get his case to trial as quickly as possible. He's ready.
Dude.
He's focused.
Stupid lawyer.
He has been ready to defend this case since he first found out about this case. Nothing has changed from his perspective. I obviously would much.
He's not stupid. What the problem is he think that what he says is better for. Nah, go ahead. That's the brother.
Prefer to fight this case with him out of jail, and we are going to try to bring that about through additional legal process. Wherever he is, his resolve is the same. He believes he's innocent. I believe he's innocent, and we're going to fight this case with all of our might until we don't have to fight any longer.
Following Jones's claims, Combs' attorney Sean Hawley provided a near-identical statement he provided to the New York Times on February 26, 2024. Mr. Jones is nothing more than a con man, shamelessly looking for an easy and wholly undeserved payday, it said. We have indisputable, incontrovertible proof that his claims are complete fabrications. Our attempts to share this proof with Mr. Jones's attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, have been ignored, as Mr. Blackburn has refused to return our calls. We look forward to addressing these ridiculous claims in court and intend to take all appropriate action against all who are attempting to peddle them. But the lawsuits just kept on coming. On December 2nd, 2023, an anonymous lawsuit was filed against Diddy in federal court in Manhattan. Doe alleges that she was gang raped and sex trafficked by Combs and former president of Bad Boys Records Harve Pierre when she was only 17 and in the 11th grade. She alleges she met Pierre in a lounge in Detroit, and he told her he was best friends with Combs. Doe claims Combs convinced her to accompany Pierre and a third assailant on a private jet to come to his studio in New York City. She claims she agreed and boarded a jet that flew to Teterboro, New Jersey, and was taken to Combs' studio. She alleges that, once there, Combs and his associates, including Pierre, plied her with drugs and alcohol, and alleges she was subsequently gang raped at the studio by Combs, Pierre, and a third assailant. Her complaint states that while Mr. Combs was raping Miss Doe, he complained that he could not get off unless she pinched his nipples as hard as she could, and that Combs then allegedly watched as the third assailant raped her while she told him to stop. After a third assailant was finished, Mr. Pierre took his turn at raping Miss Doe and then violently forced her to give him oral sex, during which Miss Doe was choking and struggling to breathe, according to the complaint.
The complaint alleges in part in the first cause of action that defendant Combs and another defendant committed a, quote, violation of New York City Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Act by viciously and violently forcing sexual contact, oral sex, and sexual intercourse on the plaintiff, end quote. The lawsuit also alleges that, quote, defendant Combs and another defendant published and/or disseminated the videos without plaintiff's knowledge or consent.
A similar case was filed by Joy Dickerson Neal on November 23, 2023, in New York Supreme Court, which was one day before the cutoff for civil cases for past sexual offenses under New York's Adult Survivors Act. In her 22-page complaint, Dickerson alleges that she met Combs after she had appeared in a music video with him while she was a student at Syracuse University. She claims she later agreed to go out to dinner with him on January 3, 1991, while on school break. During their date, Dickerson alleged that Combs intentionally drugged her. She accused Combs of sexually assaulting her and video recording the sexual assault, according to her complaint. Days later, a male friend allegedly revealed to her that he, along with other men, had viewed the sex tape. She asked her friend who had seen the tape, and her friend allegedly told her everyone. Dickerson claims from that point her life went into a tailspin, and after returning to college, she had to be admitted to the hospital for severe depression and suicidal ideation. Dickerson claims she has suffered a lifetime of injuries from being drugged, sexually assaulted, and abused.
The internal pain after being sexually assaulted has been incredibly deep and hard to put into words. It goes beyond just physical harm caused by and during the assault. Some of the hardest parts of this pain are the shame and the guilt I have experienced that plays a negative part in my day-to-day ability to function properly. Being blamed, questioned, and threatened has often made me feel worthless.
She is suing him for assault and battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, human trafficking, and revenge porn. Through a spokesperson, Combs denied and rejected the claims of misconduct. He recognizes this as a money grab, the spokesperson said in a statement.
About your own style, you're well known for your style. You look fantastic.
Thank you.
I mean, your style has evolved too.
Yeah, I think my style has evolved I think my style has evolved, but also at the same time, it's important that I do make an announcement that there has been a lot of swagger jacking of my style.
Another lawsuit comes from someone who used to work directly with the music mogul. Dawn Richard, who was a member in two of Combs's musical groups, Danity Kane and then Diddy Dirty Money, filed a 55-page lawsuit against Combs in Manhattan's federal court, saying she personally witnessed Combs assault his then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. Richard's suit claims that his abuse included choking and strangling Miss Ventura, striking her with his hands and with objects, slapping her, punching her, and throwing items at her, including a scalding hot pan. Richard also describes trying to help Ventura, and Combs threatening her life in return. Richard's lawsuit alleges that Combs regularly hurled objects in fits of rage, including mobile phones, laptops, food, and studio equipment at people. Richard says she also saw Kim Porter, the mother of 3 of Combs's children, leave the recording studio in 2005 in tears and with visible facial injuries. Richard claims she was present when Combs had a party and that dozens of girls, some of whom appeared to be underage, were given drugs and alcohol, and that even though many of them appeared lethargic or passed out, Mr. Combs and his guests performed sexual acts on them, according to her complaint. Richard's lawsuit states that Mr. Combs repeatedly said things like, "This is a buffet. Enjoy yourselves. This is what we do. This is how we party." Richard says she was concerned for her safety, was subjected to gender-motivated violence, and was sexually harassed and assaulted by Combs. She is suing Combs for sex trafficking, sexual assault, sexual battery, and false imprisonment, among other claims, and is demanding a jury trial. And Diddy wasn't the only Combs family member that was facing legal trouble. Accusations were made against his son, Christian Combs, too. Sean Combs' 26-year-old son, Christian King Combs, is being sued for sexual assault, battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress, among other allegations. The 31-page lawsuit brought by Grace O'Marquet claims that she was sexually assaulted while working as a yacht deckhand for the family during Christmas break in 2022 in the Caribbean. She is also asking that Sean Combs be held liable for his son's actions for charting the yacht, assuming responsibility for his guests throughout the Caribbean trip.
That's King Combs. You're gonna be way bigger than me.
O'Marquet alleges that there was a constant rotation of suspected sex workers and other A-list celebrities such as French Montana and actor Cuba Gooding Jr. on the yacht. O'Marquet alleges sex workers were sprawled out unconscious about that yacht, and it was difficult to distinguish which bottles of alcohol were laced with drugs and which bottles were not. In the early morning of December, perform oral copulation on him. O'Marquet is suing Diddy, blaming him for fostering an environment of debauchery filled with suspected allegations. 6 of Diddy's 7 kids also released a joint statement to Instagram in support of their father. In a collaborative Instagram post shared on Tuesday, October 22nd, Combs' eldest child, 33-year-old Quincy, wrote, "The past month has devastated our family. Many have judged both him and us based on accusations, conspiracy theories, and false narratives that have spiraled into absurdity on social media. We stand united, supporting you every step of the way. We hold on to the truth, knowing it will prevail and nothing will break the strength of our family. We miss you and love you, Dad." The post, which includes a photo of the entire family sitting on an inflatable bounce house, listed Quincy's 5 siblings: Justin, 30, Christian, 26, Chance, 18, and twins Jesse and Delilah, aged 17, as collaborators. Combs' legal team has continued to deny all of the accusations made against the rapper, calling him an innocent man with nothing to hide. We are disappointed with the decision to pursue what we believe is an unjust prosecution of Mr. Combs by the U.S. Attorney's Office, his attorney told The Independent via email following his September arrest. His attorneys have since filed a petition to have the alleged victims in his lawsuits identified so that they can prepare their defense. They also recently filed a motion to gag the alleged victims, arguing that their statements could prejudice a potential jury against Combs. On Monday, September 16th, Combs was arrested by federal agents on a sealed indictment. Combs' attorney, Mark Agnifilo, said his client is innocent and will clear his name. He is an imperfect person, but is not a criminal. To his credit, Mr. Combs has been nothing but cooperative with this investigation, and he voluntarily relocated to New York last week in anticipation of these charges, he said in a written statement. Please reserve your judgment until you have all the facts. These are the acts of an innocent man with nothing to hide, and he looks forward to clearing his name in court, Agnifilo said. Unlike when previous pop culture figures have been accused of heinous crimes, there has been an ominous silence from the usually more vocal celebrities. It appears that many of them are trying their best to distance themselves from Diddy despite having been associated with him in the past. Much like the names mentioned in Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book and court files, being pictured at a Diddy party doesn't mean these celebrities were involved in any wrongdoing. However, it's certainly not a good look, which explains why many have remained silent regarding the billionaire's charges, with some accused of deleting their social media posts mentioning his name since his arrest. Some have argued that Diddy is being used as the fall guy, the one who will take all the scrutiny whilst the others involved get to continue on with their lives once the dust is settled. Who else knew about what was going on? Was Diddy really the man calling all the shots, or were there others involved? Mr. Combs has been held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York since his 16th of September arrest. His lawyers have argued for his release pending trial, citing the jail's horrific conditions. A New York federal judge denied their request for bail, arguing that Mr. Combs was a serious flight risk. On Wednesday, the 9th of October, his lawyers petitioned the court to throw out the CNN video from 2016, which shows Mr. Combs kicking his former girlfriend Cassie Ventura as she lay on the hotel hallway floor. They argued that the government was responsible for leaking the video to CNN, and that it has led to damaging, highly prejudicial pretrial publicity that can only taint the jury pool and deprive Mr. Combs of his right to a fair trial. Lawyers for the government denied leaking the video to the media, saying that the government did not have possession of it before it was broadcast in May. Mr. Combs faces up to life in prison if convicted on the racketeering charge. He faces another statutory minimum of 15 years for the sex trafficking charge. Diddy's fall from grace has been swift, with an extensive federal criminal case charging him in a sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. More than a dozen civil lawsuits have also been filed, accusing the music mogul of assaults, rape, and sexual extortion. One lawyer said he represents more than 100 alleged victims who claim they were sexually abused. Only time will tell how this will all pan out for the hip-hop legend, but one thing's for certain. All lies will be exposed, and what's done in the dark always comes to light.
What's done in the dark always come to light, man. Hey, this is crazy, man. Sometimes when I'm watching this stuff, I cannot believe that all this is happening. I cannot believe that one of my stars, people that I looked up to, tried to do music like him. I tried to shoot videos like him, how the intro goes, how the outro goes. I wanted to be just like Bad Boy. Now I can't stand the fact that I liked it to him. I liked it to him. once before. Uncle Mike is like, I can't believe all this stuff was going on for the last 30 years. Golly, man. So, yeah, Diddy, you. And people don't realize, the more I'm studying this stuff, the more I'm realizing that, dude, he pissed somebody off to the point that they want him to suffer. They want him to really, really suffer. He's not going to die in jail. They ain't not going to kill him. In fact, they paying twice as much money to make sure nobody touches him or kill him. They want him to be in jail like an R. Kelly. Yeah. Look here, I'm gonna get on up out of here. Y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. Welcome to the Philippines, baby. Welcome to the Philippines. Peace out.